and welcome. I'm Ashley of The Ugly Sheep, and today we're going to take a look at some vintage sewing notions and tools. So recently, my grandmother passed away, and she had been an avid sewer in her younger years, and then turned to quilt making from making small outfits for my dad as she got older. And then she hadn't sewn in a while, but she kept a lot of her sewing stuff. I am the only person in our family that sews, so I inherited all of her sewing stuff, and I'm super excited to show you some of the just amazing tools and notions that she had. So let's get started. First, can we just appreciate how adorable some of these tins are that she kept her stuff in. And this one, as you can probably hear from the rattle, is just full of buttons that started being collected probably in the 60s while she was sewing clothes, right up through all of the extra buttons that you get on all of your modern clothes. So some of my favorites are, there's a set of these really retro green plastic buttons. But then there are some bigger statement buttons. And it's just decades worth of buttons and different styles and materials and coloring. So this is a neat one with the gold coloring. And so some of them she definitely took off of a already finished garment, whether it was one she bought or one she made, to salvage it and use it again. And so this entire container is just full of buttons that she saved over the years. Next, we have threads on spools. And this is just a huge container full of them. But some of the things that are neat are some of the older ones are on wooden spools. And then some of the more modern ones have moved to the plastic spools. But if you've ever seen those cushions that have the small spools of thread all the way around it, it looks like she has kept them from one of those. She has a rainbow of colors of just these really little itty-bitty baby spools of thread. So while a lot of this is probably too old for me to trust to make a garment, I might use this as like decorative overstitching or some embroidery or fancy stitch work on some stuff coming up. Because I think it would be really cool to incorporate some of my grandmother's threads into maybe a project that uses a bunch of my scraps so that my projects and her projects can all be combined. I will never need to buy sewing needles again. She has saved just a huge amount of needles. And a lot of these have fairly sharp tips, so I'm pretty sure they were never used. And, let's see, where are they? There are 2 packets of these Acme supermarkets, and they just are full of different size needles. So these are super cute, and I'm probably going to keep these, maybe put them in a shadow box versus use them, because I just think it is so cute to see the vintage needle container. Another thing my grandmother had a lot of was pins. So this box has really long pins that then have the little pearl up top there. Let me try not to stab myself. But there was pins of all shapes and sizes and shapes of pin heads from over the years. And this gives you just a good example of some of the variety. So this is one of the smaller, but still has the white pin head. Whereas these just have this small steel pin head. Next up, we have some of the zippers that she used. So some of them were for pants, some of them were for skirts and dresses, and this one was definitely for a dress. There's some old ivory edging lace, and then some seam binding. And I don't know how old this is, but it has to be old because for 3 yards, she paid 19 cents for it. So when my grandmother started to learn to sew, she took a non-credited class at a local college campus. That campus is no longer there, but the school is. And so it was the University of Pennsylvania did a it's Pennsylvania State University, so Penn State, did a non-credited class in the campus that existed nearby her house. That campus has since closed probably around late 1960s, early 1970s. But this is one of the manuals she got. And it shows you how to measure. And it also walks you through taking your measurements and the pattern measurements and making sure you could size it. Now, at this point, patterns came in one size. So you bought a pattern closest to your size and then graded up and down places that you needed. What I'd love to do is maybe see if we can get something like this that is just an easy little walkthrough where you take and grade your different sizes of patterns that you have. Because most of the patterns that you get today have more than one pattern printed on the paper. And this would allow you to take your bust from one size and take the waist from another and grade them together. I think that'd be really cool. One of the tools she has is this hem. It has different measurements, and you can have the straight hem or a curved hem to give you the measurements to make sure that it's the same amount that you are taking up with the instruction manual. She got a book of how to make draperies for 29 cents. So probably back in the 60s when she started sewing. It's copyrighted 1957 now. And you can see her little notes on the back. But it just takes you through some of the basics of how to make different types of window treatments for your house and how to sew them. Now this is really cool. It is electric scissors, but they're ones that you have to plug in, and I have them right here. So I'm really hoping they work because I have not tried them yet, but we might be posting some shorts of using some of the tools that are in this kit that I got from my grandmother. But this is the instruction booklet that came with it. Another one of her tools that was probably from the 60s is Singer. And it is a buttonholer for you to sew on your buttons. It's a little handheld button stitching device because her sewing machine that I'm getting ready to show you only does a straight stitch. Now my grandmother still has the user manual for her sewing machine, which is really great because I also inherited that. And I'll take you to show you that in just a minute. This particular one, she probably got in the early 60s when she started sewing. And it is one of them that comes in the table for you to sew. And so I have it open. I'll take you over there to show you. And then I'll fold it up so you can see how it folds into just a nice little desk. Okay, so this is her sewing machine that we dated it to, they made these until about the mid-60s. So she had to have bought it probably by then since she was taking sewing classes at that point. But it's really cool. This table folds out into 2 different leaves to help you hold your work. Now, I can imagine sewing on certain things like sleeves might be a little difficult because you don't have the narrow sewing bed like you do for a lot of modern machines. And it does only do a straight stitch. But it is really cool because if you pull up here, you can pull this front piece of wood up and it just folds nicely away to have a nice little desk that you can store some of your sewing notions on. I hope you enjoyed that little tour of some of the sewing notions and equipment that I have inherited. And keep a lookout for some shorts and some videos where I actually get to use some of what my grandmother used to use to make her projects. Until next time.